I will not go 10,000 miles from here to help murder and kill another poor people simply to continue the domination of white slave masters. That I've said it once and I will say it again. The real enemies of my people are right here, not in Vietnam.
On April 28, 1967, Muhammad Ali refused entry into the Vietnam War draft based on his religious beliefs. In doing so, he used his platform as the heavyweight champion of the world to stand up for his rights and the rights of all African Americans who had been terrorized, killed, and beaten under the discrimination laws of the Jim Crow South. While Ali's stance did have some support, the majority of the public were outraged by his refusal of the draft. Despite guarantees that he would never see combat, Ali felt a greater responsibility to African Americans and all people of color to stand up for their rights and refuse to go to Vietnam. In time, the people's champion became a global icon, inspiring all people to take responsibility and use their platforms to defend the rights of others. Ali was born on January 17, 1942, in Louisville, Kentucky under Jim Crow laws. Born Cassius Clay, he experienced racism and segregation at a young age growing up in Jim Crow South. One particular event that left a lasting impact on Ali was the kidnapping and lynching of a boy named Emmett Till. Till was born July 25, 1941 in Chicago, Illinois, just a few months older than Cassius Clay. But in the summer of 1955, Emmett had just turned 14. When visiting relatives in Mississippi, Till whistled at a white female who then told her husband and brother-in-law that Till touched her sexually. Her husband and brother-in-law then beat Emmett, shot him in the head, and wrapped him in barbed wire before dumping him into the Tallahatchie River. After his brutal murder, Till's mother chose to have an open casket funeral to show the world what racism had done to her son.
According to Muhammad Ali's autobiography, The Greatest, My Own Story, a week after he was murdered in Sunflower County, Mississippi, I stood on the corner with a gang of boys looking at pictures of him in the black newspapers and magazines. In one, he was laughing and happy. In the other, his head was swollen and based in. His mother had done a bold thing. She refused to let him be buried until thousands marched past his open casket in Chicago and looked down at his mutilated body. I felt a deep kinship to him.
Ali, recalling a time in his childhood shortly after Emmett Till's death, stated in his autobiography, "I remember a poster of a thin white man in striped pants and a top hat who pointed at us above the words, 'Uncle Sam wants you.' I'll never forget the eyes of the man in that poster staring at us, 'Uncle Sam wants you.' And the man in the poster was still pointing. I always knew sooner or later he would confront me, and I would confront him." Another example of the racism that Ali experienced was after he went to Rome for the Olympics in 1960. Ali was just 18 at the time but won the gold medal in boxing. When he returned home, he was expecting to be treated better since he was an Olympic gold medalist, but Ali was still treated as an inferior human.
A big man in your own hometown, did it completely change your life?
Well, made me popular for a few days, but I wanted to do something good with it. So I went downtown. At the time, black people was marching to eat in the white restaurants, and they wanted rights to go where they wanted to. And so I said, I'll take this medal and I'll go downtown and I'll sit down in a restaurant. I got them on a spot now, and then I'll order something to eat. And I went down and I had my medal on, and the lady was looking, and I said, I'd like a cheeseburger. She said, we don't serve Negroes.
As both a witness and victim of hate and segregation, Ali, still known as Cassius Clay at the time, joined the Nation of Islam after being drawn to its message of black empowerment, equal rights, and the responsibility to defend fellow African Americans. In 1964, Clay announced that he had joined the Nation of Islam and had changed his name to Muhammad Ali. His views obtained from the Nation of Islam helped shape his refusal of the Vietnam draft and his views on civil rights. And despite recently becoming the heavyweight champion of the world, Ali became publicly disliked after joining the Nation of Islam because of their radical beliefs. On April 28, 1967, Muhammad Ali refused to be drafted to go to war in Vietnam. He claimed that he will not go to Vietnam to kill innocent people when he isn't treated like a person in America, and said that the true enemy is right here in the USA. From the president to governors to everyday people, Ali became widely viewed as un-American for his refusal of the draft. From former heavyweight champion Gene Tunney, Ali received a telegram that read, "You have disgraced your title and the American flag and the principles from which it stands. Apologize for your unpatriotic remark or you'll be barred from the ring." About a month after refusing the draft, Ali met with other influential black athletes and activists, including Bill Russell, Jim Brown, and Lou Alcindor, in what is known as the Cleveland Summit. Their purpose was to find out the reason why he refused to go to Vietnam. At first, they were skeptical of his refusal, but by the end of the meeting, they sided with Ali's position, for they thought that he truly believed in his cause. For his refusal to be inducted, he was fined $10,000 and sentenced to 5 years in prison. While appealing this sentence, he was stripped of his title and banned from boxing for 3 years, unable to make a living, during what would be in the prime boxing years of his life. Ali still held strong though, for he believed that it was his responsibility not to go to Vietnam.
And shoot them for what? They never called me nigger. They never lynched me. They never put no dogs on me. They never robbed me of my nationality, raped and killed my mother and father. What, I'm going to shoot them for what? How am I going to shoot them? Them little poor little black people, little babies and children and women. How can I shoot them poor people?
Ali and Martin Luther King Jr. first had contact in 1961 before one of Ali's matches. Earlier that day, Ali received an unexpected telegram from Martin Luther King. It said, "Your youthful good humor, physical prowess, and flippant charm have made you an idol to many American young people." There is no way to know how many times they met in private, but they were friends. However, they had differing approaches to achieving equality. King's nonviolent resistance versus defending yourself if threatened with harm. They both grew up in times of hatred and Jim Crow laws. They were arguably the most famous African Americans in America in the 1960s. In 1967, after meeting in private, King came to Ali's defense as both were opposed to the war in Vietnam. "He's absolutely sincere," King stated. "I strongly endorse his actions."
Everybody, when the people, all of the politicians of all other white races come together, and they, although they believe different, they think different, whites can come together and discuss the common cause. But whenever a few of us come together, the world is shook up. And I say, whatever went back there is our business.
Muhammad Ali felt the personal responsibility to stand up for the rights of African Americans as well as other oppressed people across the world. When Ali first refused the Vietnam draft, he was publicly hated. As time went on, he became loved globally as well as becoming known as the people's champion of the rights of the oppressed. From Zaire to the Philippines, Ali was welcomed and celebrated by the people who knew of his stand against the U.S. government and his refusal to kill innocent people in Vietnam. They saw in him somebody who would stand up for their own rights. Muhammad Ali inspired future generations of athletes to use their platforms to stand up for equality and justice. Ali's most lasting legacy helped future athletes to use their own platforms to carry on the responsibility of standing up for equal rights. In 2016, Colin Kaepernick used his platform and kneeled during the national anthem to protest the killings of young black men and raise awareness for the rights of the Black Lives Movement. LeBron James, whose status reaches across the globe, also kneeled for the national anthem along with fellow NBA players to give voice to the Black Lives Matter movement in the wake of the death of George Floyd in 2020. Like Muhammad Ali, both men were met with anger and labeled as un-American, but both men believed in their cause and were willing to accept responsibility for their stand. Through such athletes, Muhammad Ali's legacy for rights and social justice lives on.